up, everybody? My name is Benjamin Summer. I am a double major here at Park School at Ithaca College in computer science and TVDM. Today we're going to be doing another video on the Grass Valley Karrera video switcher. Today we're going to be doing something that's pretty cool, which is building a double box, which is useful for many different kinds of shows such as live news, game shows, entertainment, all kinds of stuff. This is one of the more complex things that you can do on the switcher, so just be sure to follow along and watch the video a couple times if you get stuck. All right, let's get started. All right, so to build a double box, we're going to have to use many different features that the switcher provides, such as we're going to be using keys to map the cameras so that we can move them around. We're going to be using the 2DPM system that this switcher has to be able to move the keys around, as well as crop them and scale them when need be. And finally, we're also going to use EMEM, which involves saving the state, the transformation, and the keys of the switcher at a given time. And it allows us to do some complex movements that otherwise we wouldn't be able to do, which is pretty cool. All right, so we're just going to get started first with the key assignment. So just to demonstrate what we're going to be building today, I've already actually gone ahead here, and you can see it on screen right now. I've already built what our double box is going to look like by the end of this video. And as you can see, by pressing the buttons, I can go in and out of each source like that. Looks really nice, kind of flies in and out. You can also go between them like this as well. So it gives you different options for how you want to transition between the sources. Yeah, looks really good, really clean. So let's do it. So the first thing we're going to do here is assign our cameras or whatever sources you're going to use to keys. And now for this process, we're going to build this on a separate ME. Probably in the past, most of you have used just the program bus down here, but we're going to be using the upper one up here today to build out the double box. This lets you still run your show, no problem, and allows you to have it all saved and ready to go when you're ready without causing too much trouble or headache when you're frantically in a show. All right, so first we're going to start with our key assignments. So for this demonstration, I'm going to be using camera 1 and 2 just to keep it simple. So what you want to do first is assign 1 to the first key in your ME and then 1 to the second key. And now you're also going to need to assign your background as well to a key as well. So in this example, I have it on image store 2. If I pull it up here, it's just this background. That's really all it is. But you can assign the key to whatever image you want. You're going to have to build some kind of graphic beforehand, but it can be stored on the switcher internally, or you can do it in whatever graphic system you're using at your studio or school to keep it simple. So we're going to load in our key 4. This is acting as like our background key. So I'm just going to go over to this vertical row here of key transitions, and I'm just going to press that. And now we have our background up where our 2 cameras are going to go. It's a pretty nice graphic. So now that we've done that, and we have basically our template set up for what our double box is going to look like, we're going to start with our first camera. So I'm going to do the same thing, but with key 1 this time, and now you can see that camera 1 is taking up the entire screen. Okay, Ben, what good is this going to do? Well, like I said, if we use a 2DPM, this allows us the freedom to scale and move it around. So I'm going to come over here to this panel here, and this panel allows you to assign a 2DPM to whatever key you're using. Make sure when you're assigning a 2DPM that you first checked that whatever bus you're using is selected. So most of the time you'll have program selected because most of the time we're working in program in our shows. But for this case, we're building the double box at ME1. So I'm going to select this first and then select whatever key I want to apply the 2DPM to. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put 1 on key 4 because we're going to need it. But key 1 is really where the magic's going to happen, as well as key 2. So I'm going to apply it here. And now we're going to have to go over to the video panel on the switcher. We're doing a lot today, but you're doing good so far. So let's go to that. All right, so first we are going to display our background, which we assigned as key 4. This allows us to see where we need to put our cameras and kind of gives us the template of what our double box is going to look like. So this needs to be displayed first. You can do that how we normally do it, where you select the key and cut it in. We covered this in the key priority video. You can check that out on the YouTube channel. But you can simply just hit the button here and it'll appear, and it's just fine for what we're doing for today. Once we've done that, we're going to start with our cameras. So we're just going to start with camera 1 first. So we're going to put that live. And as you can see now, camera 1's taking up the whole screen, which isn't very helpful for us. But like I said before, if we use 2 DPMs in conjunction with keys, it allows us to scale and transform and move the sources around. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, so if we come over here to this panel, this is where we're going to assign the 2 DPMs to our keys, okay? Now for each key that we're using today, each one has to have the 2 DPM on it. You can do that just by turning this on like that, okay? That includes your background as well, just so you know. And make sure when you're assigning 2 DPMs to keys, you have the correct bus selected. Most of the time, program is going to be lit up because that's where most of the work on the shows is done, all right? But remember that we're building this double box in ME1. So we're going to be focusing on the keys that exist in here. So once we have this lit up, or whatever ME you're working in, I'm going to first turn on the 2 DPM for our background key, which is key 4. Then turn it on for key 1. Now keep in mind, in this case, you could have used key 3 as your background, but no matter what, you want the background key to be the highest number, or the higher number than your other sources, or else the double box is not going to work right. Keys, like we covered in the video, are layer on top of one another. So if you assign the background before the other ones, it's not going to work properly. Okay, now that we've done that, we're going to come over to the monitor on the switcher and proceed from there. All right, now that we have key 1 and key 4 with 2 DPMs, now we're going to go ahead and resize camera 1 so that it can display properly in the double box and doesn't take up the whole screen. You're going to realize quickly what that's going to look like, so don't stress too much about it, okay? So what we're going to do is there are a lot of different menus on this screen, but as we've been covering, we've been working with 2 DPMs, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to come to the IDPM section of the menu here, which we've selected already, okay? And you're going to, as we've said, a lot of the power of 2 DPM comes in transformation. So we're going to come to the transform section right there. And then we have 2 options. Here we have IDPMs and 2 DPMs. Today we're working at 2 DPMs. Don't worry about IDPMs for now. They're a little more complex, so just worry about 2 DPMs for the purposes of this video. Now we're going to come and select whatever key we want to transform. In this case, we have our different buses once again. Okay, this might be becoming a little more familiar now, and we're going to select key 1 because this is the one that we're going to resize, okay? On the right here are different menus, or different parameters rather, that allow us to manipulate the key in different ways. So we're going to be focusing on scale and the transforms here. Don't mess with size because that can cause issues when it comes to the double box. Size and scale do similar things, but they're not quite the same in how they work on this switcher. For the purposes of making double boxes, just worry about scale, okay? So first I'm going to scale it down, and you can already see the difference. It's night and day. So now you can see how the keys layer on top of one another. And these dials allow me some finer adjustment when it comes to moving these along. So just kind of resize it and move it in a way that fits it into the box the best you can get it. For this video, that's good enough. But again, when you're doing a show and there's a lot of people watching, it's best to size it properly to make sure that there's no outlines around the camera, okay? We're going to do the same process now for camera 2 or key 2 as we've assigned it. So it's the same thing. I'm going to light that key up. Once again, it's taking up almost all the screen, but you can see now that key 2 exists behind key 1, okay? We're going to come over here and apply the 2 dBm as well, like we did before. Select camera 2. And scale it. To make our lives a little easier, I'm going to compare the values between both and just copy them by hand. and the rest I'll just do like this. Perfect. Looks pretty good. Okay, so now we've got the structure of the box set up, but it's pretty limited in what we can do right now. We can't do any fly-ins. It's just as is. So if you want to show this on your show just as is, you can stop right here. You don't have to worry about anything. But let's say you wanted to do some cool transitions where you fly in and out of the cameras and make it look really nice. You want to stick around. There's going to be some more topics coming up. But again, as long as you just follow along with the switcher yourself, it shouldn't be too bad. Okay, so let's proceed from there. All right, so for this part of the video, we're going to have to use a different system that we haven't covered before called eMEMS. And like I mentioned kind of in the beginning, this allows you to save the positioning and size and properties of setups that you create in an ME, and allows you to easily switch between ones that you create with just a push of a couple buttons, which is really powerful. So you can switch on the same ME between different setups very quickly. It also allows you to transition between different setups that you create using fly-ins like I mentioned, which is what we're going to be using for this video. But if you're interested more in eMEMS rather, we can certainly make a video on that. There's a lot of cool things you can do with them. Okay, so let's get started here with the first step. Like I said, if you're happy with this setup and you're just going to use this on your show, you don't have to proceed further, okay? If you don't want to do any fly-ins like that. But like I said before, if you want to do fly-ins or move between them, you're going to have to use two different systems that the switcher has that we haven't covered yet. Those being global variables as well as eMEMS. Now, global variables allow you to manipulate the transformations of different keys simultaneously, which is very powerful. And you'll see how that comes into effect later when you are able to see what the fly-in looks like, okay? And we're also going to use a system called eMEMS, which allows us to save the setup that we've created here into different number registers on the keypad on the switcher, and then we can recall them and dissolve between them, which allows the fly-in transition to actually occur. So first what we're going to do is set up the global variables for the keys that we already have. So what we're going to do is in the menu that we're already in, on the right side is a button called Primary Global, okay? And you're going to select this. Now what you're going to do is hit the multi-select button here, and you're going to touch all the keys that you already did, okay? And you're going to make them global. And now you can see that all of them have the same tag as the primary global variable, okay? And now, whatever change we make here is going to apply to all the keys at the same time. So if I just go and scale everything, all of them move in conjunction together instead of moving separately, which is pretty cool. Okay? So let's return it to how it was. And now we're going to cover eMEMS. Now we're going to move eMEMS. Okay, for eMEMS, eMEMS work by saving the state and position of things in a number register on the switcher, and that allows you to recall them and transition between them. So you can build many different setups in eMEMS, and many shows probably do that, whether you're working in a college environment or professional. So please be mindful when you're using eMEMS not to overwrite ones that are already there. As you can probably see by the work we're doing today, these can sometimes take a while to set up, and so overwriting someone else's work sets them back a while. So make sure when you're creating a register here in the eMEMS that you use one that hasn't been used before. So I'm going to go to a later register in the eMEM, okay? And I'm going to learn or save it into register 2, like that, okay? So now when I press this button, we're going to change the setup real quick. Let's change the scale, for example. Okay, where'd it go? I don't know. But that's fine because we can press this and it comes back. That's pretty cool, huh? So you can save different setups. You can use this for many different things. It doesn't have to just be double boxes, but it allows you to recall the state of different things with the push of a button. Cool. Okay, so for the purpose of this, though, what we're going to do next is come over to the scale and make sure you've selected, not that one, the primary global, okay? Like I said, this allows you to move all of them in conjunction at the same time. So we're going to go over, scale it up, line it up the best we can. And now what we essentially have is just this camera, okay? You wouldn't really know that it's connected to a double box of any sorts just by looking at it, okay? The viewer can't see that. But behind the scenes, you can understand that this is actually built on top of the background that we already have, okay? So now we're going to learn this to register 1, like that, okay? And we're going to do one more just with this camera. This one I just have to move over like this. You can learn it to register 3, okay? All right. So really now your work is done, okay? To transition, now I can select the different ones like this, okay? Which is cool. You know, but those are sharp cuts, and that's not always going to be useful for your shot. So if you want to make it look really nice, come over here and select dissolve before you press the buttons. And now you've got a really cool and fly-in transition. As you can probably see by now, the reason I put the main one is 2 is because this one's in the middle. This is kind of the background to everything, okay? This is like, usually when you're building these shows, you want to use this background in between the full camera shots. So it can make sense to set it up like this. But again, whatever your show needs, you can build the registers out like that to make it easiest for yourself. Doesn't really matter where they go. That's it for the double box video. I just want to clarify one thing real quick before we go. There are different ways to do a double box. Sometimes I've seen people build double boxes by changing the key priority in real time, using emems instead, or other techniques. And those are all valid and okay. But doing it this way gives you the best effect. It looks the cleanest, and it's also much easier to set up and much safer. It's dangerous to change key priority when you're working with these type of keys, because after you're done with it, you don't know which keys are going to be on top of which. This keeps it simple and allows you to keep all the keys where they are, and it just allows you to manipulate everything all at once. No problem. So that's it for today. Thanks guys for watching. I hope this was helpful. If you want any topics covered in the future in particular, let us know in the comments. We got a lot of good feedback on the last one. I hope this video was helpful, and we will see you soon.